Hello and welcome to 2033 of the series. 2033. We will today continue with a paper by Terry Marks-Tarlow, Synchronicity, Acausal Connection, and the Fractal Dynamics of Clinical Practice. Clinical practice. The Kleinian concept of projective identification carried much of the explanatory weight for the issue in the early 20th century. In the early 20th century, theoretical innovation has moved beyond this framework as addressed by the intersubjective turn in psychoanalysis until at present, virtually the entire field is grappling with the importance of unconscious participation. Interpersonal framings emphasize interaction, but this sustains a separate subject, epistemology. The contemporary emphasis on field theory, both in relational and post-Bionian schools, represents a response to the paradox of separate players who at times appear without separate boundaries. Having no separate boundaries at all. Which applies to instances both of ordinary and extraordinary knowing. Extraordinary knowing, telepathy. Donald Stearns. emphasis on emergence within the interpersonal field represents one important attempt to explain unconscious relational participation. Unconscious relational participation. And sharing. And sharing. However, the field metaphor itself is limiting because it suggests a physical medium of information exchange. Information exchange. Which cannot hold in non-local knowing. Non-local knowing. Non-local knowing. We suggest that the model of information sharing is a better way to conceive these non-local phenomena. Non-local phenomena. Here we go beyond the traditional psychoanalytic use of the term information as a representation and presentation to a more global meaning, including psychophysical dimensions. Within quantum physics, information appears to be more primary than either matter or energy. Constituting a prime substrate out of which all else emerges. All else emerges out of this prime substrate. Out of the prime substrate, all comes, and all development becomes possible. Hand in hand with quantum ideas, the introduction of non-linear dynamical thinking into the field of psychoanalysis represents further progress in this ontological and epistemological discussion among psychoanalysts. By offering a fractal epistemology, we extend the inherently paradoxical framework of the microscopic world into the microscopic realm of lived experience, to model how subjectivities can be conceived simultaneously as autonomous and interpreting represents a significant paradigm shift in our field. Fractal edges are dynamic shifting with the scale and the perspective of the observer, and understanding consistent with a postmodern emphasis on the relativity of observer and importance of context within psychoanalysis. Fractal edges that simultaneously separate and connect, intertwine subjectivities within the intersubjective matrix may also help explain the nature of uncanny information sharing between therapist and patient, so frequently experienced within the analytic literature. we introduce the next case vignette written in first-person form for ease of presentation to exemplify how recursive relational and intergenerational patterns can combine with uncanny knowing, uncanny knowing, uncanny knowing. The case of Abe. Abe. The case of Abe. The case of Abe. Abe is a young attorney in his early 30s who grew up in a tumultuous household with a billionaire father and a much younger mother. 30 years his junior. Abe's parents thought continually, as his father openly had multiple affairs. When Abe was in early grade school, his mother left his father, but became so distraught as to take heavily to drink, becoming unpredictably emotionally and physically abusive. Meanwhile, Abe's father pretended the abuse was not happening. Was not happening. Abe began depth analysis nearly 5 years ago as he transitioned from law school to work as a licensed attorney. She had ruthlessly pursued him, even moving into Abe's apartment without his consent. Without his consent. Without his consent. Psychotherapy addressed Abe's violated boundaries again and again. again and again. But he remained too scared of his girlfriend's temper and irrational, unpredictable style. As with his mother previously, Abe easily froze up, feeling unable to speak out or hold his ground. Things got so out of hand one evening that his girlfriend attacked him physically outside a restaurant, to the point of blood running profusely down his white shirt. Down his white shirt. Down his white shirt. An alarmed bystander called the police. Abe's girlfriend was arrested and charged with battery. And Abe hit a breaking point. He finally broke off their relationship. Finally. Two years later, Abe pursued a job at a larger firm and immediately felt drawn to a fellow attorney named Stephanie. Stephanie. Good old Stephanie. The two began talking more and more over time, often for hours on end. Hours on end. Despite their mutual attraction, neither dared to broach their relational landscape. Relational landscape. One day during psychotherapy, Abe described a recent encounter of talking with Stephanie until 2:30 a.m. in the office without food or break. Therapist, were you not hungry? Abe, I did not think about it. therapist, why didn't you suggest continuing outside the office where you might get something to eat? Fair enough, something to eat. Abe, we were too engrossed. It did not come up. As Abe responded, a clear image formed itself in my imagination. An ostrich with its head in the sand, with its head in the sand. To me, the ostrich perfectly epitomized what was transpiring between the two young people. The two young people. Including how neither was addressing the emotional truth of these marathon encounters. I share the image with Abe. I share the image with Abe. Without a beat, he responded. That's exactly what my father used to say about his own intimacy struggles with women. That he is an ostrich, an ostrich, an ostrich. He is an ostrich. This proved an incredibly powerful clinical moment for me, because the possibility of unconscious information sharing feels daunting and thrilling for Abe. Because the ostrich image hit his central dynamic on the head, capturing an intergenerational trend he inherited from his father, which until that moment had not been consciously formulated, not consciously formulated. This was a change moment for Abe. That very day, he garnered courage to ask Stephanie on a dinner date outside the office. They addressed complications of an office romance and even transition toward physical intimacy. Physical intimacy. Physical intimacy. Stephanie shared feelings of interest and attraction to Abe, but clarified she wanted him to take the lead. In weeks to follow, Abe continued to counteract his inner passivity. Inner passivity. His internal passivity. Meanwhile, psychotherapy fleshed out the ostrich as a guiding metaphor for hiding his head in the sand of an emotional universe. An emotional universe. An emotional universe. Only retrospectively did we both understand the remarkable synchronistic timing of what had happened. Merely 3 weeks after the ostrich appeared, Abe's law office dispersed in lockdown mode due to the coronavirus pandemic. Several months later, while still sheltering in place, Stephanie left the farm. Left the farm. Had Abe not asked her out precisely when he did, their chances for an intimate relationship may have been postponed indefinitely. 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 I will here put a pause or by the word indefinitely. 2033. 2033. 2033. Let's see here. What we have here. The case of Abe, or Abe, sorry. Let's go to page 473. And at the end of that page, there is a very interesting quote. But I start with the introductory text here. 3 lines from the bottom. Here we go beyond the traditional psychoanalytic use of the term information. As representation and presentation to a more global meaning, including psychophysical dimension, psychophysical dimension. Go to the next page. Within quantum physics, information appears to be more primary than either matter or energy, constituting a prime substrate out of which all else emerges. All else emerges. All else emerges from that. Information is the most fundamental in reality. In reality, it is utterly decisive, showing to what sort of consequences there would be. This is the principal role of information. And more primary than either matter or energy, or what we usually see as matter is actually information, I'd say. The second paragraph on page 474. At the very end, 3 lines from the bottom. 3 lines from the bottom. Fractal edges are dynamic, shifting with the scale and the perspective of the observer. An understanding consistent with a postmodern emphasis on the relativity of observer and importance of context within psychoanalysis. Within psychoanalysis. This goes to show that in the interactivity the streaming line in between in the two sides where everything happens in the liminal zone. The observer with all his or her depth inside, that enormity of fractal complications that goes deeper and deeper and deeper and connects to the fractality of the outside, creating what could be called information. Here we are in the vicinity of where everything gets created. Deep down in the production of reality. Here is where it stems into reality because of the complexities, the two sides that makes for instability. In David McNeil's gesture and language combination, where you get a generative point in the meshing of the two sides. They both come into existence. Gestures giving the flesh, the fractal flesh of language, and together they shine forth. They become strong. In this borderline, everything is possible. From this information slides, not from one single view, but from the two paradoxical views at the very same time. It's a coextensive happening. They intermingle with each other, and we get a birth of something new. In this case, in the mentioned scenario, the ostrich come out in the fractal edges between therapist and patient. It comes to fruition, and the idea that came to the therapist thinking, her imagination, is coming from the fractality of the patient. The deep complexities harbored within that also edges to the outside. Edges to the outside. David Bohm called this implicit explicit, where the implicit could be likened to the liminal zone, where everything stems from, the foundational, the fundament, the sine qua non, or as Marks-Tarlow calls it here, prime substrate. I really like that. The prime substrate is the liminal zone between the two sides, therapist and patient, or the firm ground of the Norwegian coastline and the non-coast, the non-stone, the water in between. Everything grows. That's the fertile soil of the prime substrate. Everything can come out of that. There is where it grows. I'll end there. I say thank you very much for viewing in. Have a beautiful morning, day, or afternoon, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.